Hi everybody, my name is Aton and welcome to another After Effects tutorial. Today I will be showing you how to make some water sort of bring up text from inside it, and there are three ways we can do that. One is like this way, playing right now. I'll play that again for you. There you go, you can see it's sort of forming. Then the other way is where it's the water, instead of being like water, it's sort of just white and then comes in like that. Or you could just make everything like that and then come together like that. So it's a really cool effect, and we're gonna get started. So drag your original footage into a new composition. That is perfect. And I'm just gonna type text. Perfect. And so what we're gonna do to this text is add on a displacement map. Okay, so just drag on displacement map to that text, and we'll scale it up a little bit so you can sort of see what's going on. Okay, there we go. So now we're going to change the displacement map layer to this water layer, and then sort of spread out this displacement. And I'm going to bring mine up to 1,000 on each. Okay. Now I'm going to keyframe. I'm going to go ahead to where I want where the text to be sort of still, and I'm going to hit P, hold down Shift and S, and that brings up position and scale. And I'm going to keyframe them right there, and then I'm going to go back to the beginning. And now this time I'm just going to scale it up and make it fill the whole thing. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is set keyframes for the displacement. So at the beginning it will be 1,000, and when we get to this point with the other keyframes, they're both going to be 0. So what we have right now is something that looks like this, which is most of our effect. It's not perfect. First of all, I'm really not liking how this text is at the end. So you can go back to exactly where those keyframes are right there, and then just modify the end result and bring that down a little. Okay, that's pretty good. So now, oh, did I affect the wrong keyframes? Yeah, I added in a keyframe. It wasn't exactly on top of the old ones. So we just have to get rid of those old keyframes. So, no big deal. So we still have our text coming in, and I feel like it's a little sort of sudden at the end there. So what I'm going to do is go to a few frames before these keyframes and set keyframes by hitting these buttons. And actually I'm just going to hit U, that brings up all the keyframe properties, and so I can also hit the keyframe button on there too. And then I'm going to select the outer keyframes and drag them farther apart. And what this is saying is, this is where you want to end. This is what was this set of keyframes is what was originally just a few frames before the end. But now we're putting more time between them, so everything up to here will be the same, and then over here it's sort of going to drag out the time that happens in. And we can also easy ease these keyframes. Well, not the position and scale ones, but I'll easy ease these ones by hitting F9. That'll sort of just smooth them out, so we can just go through, and now that's a lot smoother. Okay, so we have one of the three ways I showed you before, and this is just the white text. But what if we want something sort of like this, where it sort of forms out of the water and there is all that disruption in the water? Well, what we can do for that is find Turbulent Displace and apply that to this water thing. Now we're going to duplicate it, and on the top one, on the bottom one, we're going to delete Turbulent Displace. Now, if this layer is below that layer, what we can do is set the track matte to alpha matte text 1. And what this is saying is, make this text transparent, and the only thing you can see through it is this layer right here. So what we would have is type number 2. And this would be before the turbulent displace, because the turbulent displace doesn't really affect this. So there, we have way 2. But the more complex version, where it sort of is disrupting the water, what we can do is turn on this turbulent displace and turn up the amount. And that's just sort of distorting it a little. So that's looking pretty cool. And so now if we add back in that bottom layer, we can start to see some distortion in this general area. And then what we'll do is, as it's really finishing up there, you can, on the bottom one, hit T, and that brings up opacity. I always feel like it should be transparency, because you're hitting T, but whatever. And press the stopwatch to set a keyframe for 100, go forward a few frames, and set it to 0. So this is sort of just fading out that back layer. So now we have this. And I like these keyframes, but I'm going to move them forward a bit. And maybe spread them out. There. I'm pretty satisfied with that. Okay, so that's the basic idea of the displacement map using displacing an existing surface. This works best with water, at least as far as I've tested it, but I know there are some other surfaces this works well for. What displacement maps are normally used for is if you just want to map something onto an existing surface with a texture. But this is sort of doing a more extreme version of that, as the texture is moving water instead of just, say, cloth. So this is sort of advanced displacement maps. So, thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something.